everyone so much for joining. Um, Today, we're going to be talking about the cooperative development process for Action Builder. We are so excited to be doing this as part of the 2023 Build Power Virtual Conference. So yeah, let's start off with some introductions. So my name is Susie Grishpol. I'm the product manager for Action Builder here at Action Network. And what that means is that I'm basically steering the cooperative development process, working with Jeff and Vishwa and lots of other folks that we'll talk about to inform the strategic direction of Action Builder and making sure that we're really building a tool that meets our mission and supports organizers in their work. I have been working in the progressive technology space for, I was doing the math on this right before this call, over 15 years now, which is wild how time flies. And yeah, just really love building tools, and especially in this kind of context, building it in collaboration with folks doing the work. Let's see, I live in Colorado, so I feel like I'm obligated to say that I like to hike in my free time, but really I like to walk. I'm a meanderer. So yeah, outdoors and dancing is another one of my passions. Vishwa, I'll pass it over. Or no, I was going to introduce you. Also on our call today, we have Vishwa Chawla, data and analytics manager for People's Action. He got his start working in politics with local and federal races based in Minnesota, Ilhan Omar being the most well-known of those. He loves all things data and systems, takes more of a programmer approach to the work. And in his free time, he loves watching films and good storytelling. Some of his favorites are Shirkers, Princess Mononoke, and The Hidden Fortress. So if you like any of those, know that you have a comrade in nerdiness. Anything else you want to say about yourself, Vishwa?
No, I think that's a pretty good intro. Thank you.
Sweet. All right, and I'll pass it over to Jeff. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Maybe I should have let you introduce me, Susie, because you're so good at it. But I'm Jeff Mann. I am the senior technologist and developer on the AFL-CIO data analytics and infrastructure team, and have been involved with Action Builder since the very beginning, more than 5 years ago now, when we started this process of building a new organizing platform and working with Action Network. Of the many hats I wear on the AFL-CIO team, I think one of the ones I enjoy the most is coordinating with Action Builder and Action Network on the development process, the cooperative development process. And so I work with our with AFL-CIO affiliates to collect input and to coordinate with Susie and with Mari on the Action Network side to shape where these tools go, and figure out how we can create effective platforms for us and for the progressive movement.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. All right. So I'm going to just start off by giving a little bit of context and telling you all a little bit more about what the cooperative development process is, what it looks like. So both of our tools, Action Network and Action Builder, are both built in deep collaboration with partners through our cooperative development process. So what that means is that for each of our products, we have a committee of folks that consist of, for Action Builder, specifically our committee consists of representatives from various AFL-CIO affiliate unions, like Jeff was mentioning. And as of this year, we're very excited to bring on People's Action. And along with that, various folks from People's Action's membership or member organizations as well. So in this committee, we regularly discuss what's going well with Action Builder, what pieces need tweaking or improvement, raising any bugs that we find. And what's really unique about this process is that, you know, AFL-CIO and People's Action aren't just, investors in the tool that are just like, here you go, build something great. But you all are actual users yourselves, as well as supporting a lot of users within your organizations. And so we're taking that input and feedback directly from the ground up. So part of this committee is also getting feedback early and often as our design and engineering teams are delivering work on those priorities. And it's also an important part of the process to incorporate feedback from different levels. So from, both you, Jeff, and Vishwa, and the things that you're hearing from folks, but also doing the kind of tactical day-to-day problem solving with our amazing impact team, doing user support and success work, as well as having those bigger strategic, big picture visioning type and prioritization work, at that higher level. And all of this kind of feeds into this ethos of like making sure that we are solving the problems that we're setting out to solve, and are we making the impact that we're setting out to make? So that is how we roll. Anything either of you would add to that?
No, I think that really covers it. I mean, it's really a very collaborative process, and I think it's just really important getting feedback from the people who are actually using the tool and using it on the ground, and that's where like the best insights come from.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. And honestly, it's a very unique process in the ecosystem, and I think that's definitely important to highlight and uplift.
For sure. We like it.
And I guess, yeah, I do think it's really important, not just that it's a collaborative process, but I also think the structure, how Action Network and or Action Squared, Action Builder are all structured as a nonprofit, I think is really important. I think it's a big difference between other tools and platforms we use. We've had more than one instance where the tool that we use is starts off as a tool built for progressives, and then a few years down the line it gets bought by venture capital, and who knows what happens to it after that, and who's influencing it, and whether the tools are actually serving the needs of our affiliates and of users, and also and then the other thing that we see a lot is like a tool is good, and then it stagnates and doesn't continue to adapt as needs change and needs adapt. And so this collaborative development process really ensures that the tool continues to evolve in ways, and evolve and grow, and work for more users, more use cases, and work better for the people that are actually doing the really important work of organizing.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jeff. And it's, I think, also kind of part of why we're so excited to bring People's Action on, because, AFL, like you were saying, has been our main partner on this tool since the beginning, and has really proven itself to be a crucial tool for labor organizers. And now we're kind of in this moment of expanding it out. And, we've seen its usefulness with state parties and with some other groups, but this is a really exciting moment to start using it in the community organizing context. And like you said, kind of pushing it to evolve and serve a bigger part of the progressive movement. So yes, that is a great segue. So my first few questions are kind of looking back on like what has gotten us to this point. So they're kind of more questions for you, Jeff, as you are our historical anchor in this conversation. So my first question is, I was wondering if you could share some examples of features or improvements to the tool that were directly influenced by users, or any other kind of input, and how they ultimately benefited from those requests.
Sure. I mean, well, the short answer is all of them. I won't go back through the whole history. I thought Martha and Brian did a good job talking about kind of the history of Action Builder and the collaborative development process in the kickoff call or kickoff yesterday. So folks can check out the video of that. But really, this was a tool that was designed by organizers for organizers. And back when we were starting out, we had both the really exciting and somewhat scary scenario where we really had like a blank slate, and it's like, what do we want to build, in order to answer that question, it was really talking to organizers and finding out how are you doing things now. And often that's folks are using paper lists, folks are using Google Sheets, using ancient Microsoft Access databases that they like email back and forth, their spreadsheets. And so the goal here was really to build something that worked better, and especially in more distributed ways than that are often the case now, where you're not just organizing in one single location. You can have people spread out all over the place, and needing tools that could in particular tools that worked on that are mobile friendly. That was like the biggest thing that we saw, was like the existing tools were not mobile, so you were still taking notes, and then hopefully somebody enters that data somewhere at some point, but it was not keeping up. And then but so really all the features, but I guess to give some like kind of more specific examples that are like a little more recent. I think one change that we made this year that I've heard a lot of positive feedback around is how we change it. So the flag for follow-up feature, it's something we've had, it's something that has been in the tool since the launch, but it's changed a couple of times now, actually, based on user feedback. Originally it was just like flag for follow-up for yourself, and so you could you could mark someone and as flag for follow-up, which was great, but it's not always, you're not always the one that is doing the follow-up, especially if you're say you're a canvasser, and it's really important that an organizer get in touch with a person. You flag it for follow-up, and then it's only you're the only one who sees it. Not that useful. So later we changed it to be able to see, like, it was a kind of a global flag, so anybody could see any flags. But then we found that based on feedback that was a little, we went a little too far on that. So the most recent iteration of it is like where you can flag someone for follow-up and assign it to a particular user. So you can assign it to another organizer who is like the right person to follow up with them, or you can assign it to yourself if you're the one who's going to follow up. But either way, you can like add a note and assign it, and like that's been really valuable. People have gotten a lot of use out of that feature. Another one that is one of my favorite features, and I think is still a little underutilized. I think it'll but because it's relatively new, but is the badges, or I think we call it spotlight feature, where the need here was like we heard from a bunch of different folks that like needed a way to be able to, like, as you're scanning down your wall chart list, to be able to like quickly identify, say, people who've signed a card, or people who are already members, or whatever kind of your key metric is. You want to be able to scan your list and see those. And we already had like little icons for whether someone's a user, or the flag for follow-up, but this was the ability to add to choose a particular response that you want to be a badge, and like you can and it's pretty cool. There's an icon picker, so you can choose if it's like signed card, you can choose a little like clipboard icon or something, and then as you're looking at your list, right next to the assessments, you see a little icon that tells you if they've signed a card.
Thanks, Jeff. And I think your earlier, comment about it being mobile friendly and really, what we call mobile first, right? Because people using this tool on the go in real time, multiple people in the system at once, all of that kind of stuff is like such a crucial part of it. And so a lot of the constraints that we've been working in, and I think where that badge idea sort of came from was like, how do we show as much relevant information on a tiny screen without overwhelming people? That's like it's a pretty big constraint. And so I think that kind of iteration of that is something we've definitely seen. Yeah. Cool. Let's see. So yeah, I think we've talked about a few of the key features that we've got in the tool so far. I want to talk a little bit about stuff that we have coming up on the roadmap. Also, to bring Vishwa into the conversation, since a lot of what we've been talking about is like stuff that people's action is really looking forward to in the near future as well. So yeah, Vishwa, do you want to talk about some of the upcoming features that we have on our roadmap? And yeah, I guess particularly like what kind of impact you're hoping to see from getting folks to use those features.
Yeah, I think for us, it's very exciting with Action Builder. We recently had our People's Action Convention where we had organizers from across the country come to one location where we talked about and launched what we're calling the organizing revival, right? So this is like a mandate to all of our membership, all of our member orgs to double their base by 2025, right? And so if you're going to double your base, you're going to have to have those records somewhere. So we determined internally that Action Builder is the database of our organizing revival. So we're really excited to ramp on all of our member orgs into Action Builder, get them using the system, get them familiarized with it, but also to bring features that they're also excited about. One of the things that we've heard across the board is an events module, right? So for community organizing, they need to have town halls, they need to have speaking sessions, they need to have committee meetings for like climate justice or for healthcare, right? So all of these things they want to be able to host in the events module, and then also be able to mark people as attended. I've done a call for them, they've told me that they will come. All of those variety of things. They're very excited about doing directly within Action Builder. Right now, we're working on a solution for them that we can do in the interim, but long term, we know that it's something in the development pipeline, and it's something that our members are really excited about. And they're already excited about Action Builder as a platform, but knowing that this is coming, it only makes them more excited and more invested in us working together.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and I think it's amazing timing too that you all are coming in, as we're sort of moving from the design phase for the events feature into development, and then we could start putting early kind of prototype versions of it in front of actual users and talking through like, okay, yeah, does this match the process that makes sense for you, and doing that kind of like user testing, because I think that's part of the product development process that I personally love the most, is that kind of validating or invalidating assumptions, like either way, because all of this work is based on assumptions until you put it in front of people and confirm that it's actually like meeting the need. So yeah, definitely looking forward to doing that. Is there anything you wanted to say on that one, Jeff, and either on events or other features that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, well, definitely excited about the events. I think that's going to be huge. I think some other features that I would, that I'm excited about. The uploader is one, and so in the initial design and plan for Action Builder, like we made a very conscious decision that we were going to prioritize the experience for organizers, and like that was the bottom line, is like this tool has to work well for organizers on the ground that are having organizing conversations, and so we whenever there was a choice between should we do this thing that's like makes it better for organizers, or like this other thing that's like makes it easier for admins, like we always chose the organizer feature. But the admin side is important too. And so I think that the biggest thing with that that's happening right now is basically completely reworking the uploader. And it's gonna be a phases over time, but the goal is to get to a place where eventually we can have right now only admins can do uploads, and that can create a bottleneck. So especially for organizations that have don't have as much of a centralized data staff. So the ability getting to a point where we can have campaign leads that are able to upload things, I think that will increase our ability to scale to more and more campaigns by kind of eliminating bottlenecks in the process. I think another one I'm really excited about is the what we've been calling the conversation button. And we already have tasks which are really powerful and make it easy. You can create a task and it can be a phone bank task or a house visit task, and you can have certain fields, certain assessments, pieces of information you want to collect in that task, but the ability to have a quick conversation button that will make it easier just from the wall chart or from the person profile page to say yeah, I talked to this person today, and collected got these a couple pieces of information, and I think that's going to be really powerful and kind of create new workflows for folks that will make the tool even more useful.
Yeah, I think those are good points. I think prioritization is such a huge part of this process, right? Because we have finite time and resources and all that good stuff. And those trade-offs could be really hard when, like you're saying, we're deciding between something that is streamlined for organizers versus admins. And yeah, I agree. I'm also excited that we're making the uploader better and more intuitive, because I think it kind of we have to find that balance, right? Because if organizers aren't using the tool, then it's obviously not useful for anyone else upstream. But we want to be nice to our admins as well. So
getting data in is important. Yeah. So
yeah, exactly. Great. Let's see. Just keeping an eye on time here. So many things. I feel like this could be like a 4-hour conversation. So let's see. Jeff, would you be open to sharing a case study or a success story of a campaign where Action Builder was a core part of it, and yeah, what you think Action Builder really added to make that process better?
Sure. Yeah. And we hear from our affiliates that use Action Builder all the time about different ways they're using it, and different campaigns where they're rolling it out. I mean, I think at this point, I should have counted before this call. I think we've had at least 30 affiliate unions use Action Builder in some way, and lots of different and some have rolled it out, adopted it for all of their organizing campaigns. Others are use it for external campaigns, but or just internal campaigns. So there's it's a real mix. But we've had many different unions that are all different, from large national unions to building trades to small individual locals that are using it, and it's had lots of different success. I think one that I'm excited about, and there's a case study about this on the Action Builder blog. But as a baseball fan, I was really excited about the minor league baseball players using Action Builder. This is actually they are now part of the Major League Baseball Players Association, which is affiliated with the AFL-CIO. But at the time they were independent. But it's it's a really interesting case study. We definitely encourage people to check it out. But it's the kind of thing that's exactly what we had in mind when Action Builder was launched. It's with with minor league baseball, there's thousands of players across across the country, and also multiple countries, spread across I think 120 teams. So that it's a highly distributed campaign, and was hugely successful. And they used Action Builder, and were able to bring have organizers that could and player leaders that they could get show them get them in Action Builder, get on a call, see that see who needs who do you need to talk to, who do we need to follow up with. And it was a very an impressively fast campaign that won. And within there was, I know there was a lot of effort, a lot of years of effort that went into it, but then once it went public, I think it was only a few months before they actually won recognition, and kind of and have now I believe have bargaining a contract. So it's really so that's I think really exciting. Yeah, like I said, we definitely encourage people to check out the case study,
which Jeff D has wonderfully put in the chat for all of you. So definitely check that out. Yeah, and I think that I love that case study so much too, even though I'm not a baseball fan, but it's still very inspiring. Still rooting for the players. But yeah, I think that's like definitely one of the biggest things that we've heard as positive feedback on Action Builder, is how flexible the tool is. And even within one union or within one organization, different campaigns can look so different. And so the flexibility of being able to set up the tool exactly to match your campaign, instead of as the case with a lot of other tools out there, where you have to contort your work to fit into how the tool has opinions about how things should be set up. Yeah, it's definitely a lot of the good feedback we get. Awesome. I wanted to kind of take it back a little bit to the cooperative development process, and I was wondering if you all would be up for speaking to like what benefits either member organizations or affiliate unions get out of participating in the process of it does take time, right? Like, people are really busy, especially in these organizations. There's a lot of hustle. Yeah, and so in taking the time to like give us this feedback, or looking at early versions of things and kind of giving feedback or giving input on things, what benefits do you think they get out of spending that time with us? Bisha, do you want to start on this one?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it earlier, right? So powering the organizing revival is like one of our core things of like, we're trying to get organizations across the board, whether they're in like rural Washington working with like farm workers, or if they're in like upstate New York working on like more environmental factory plans, right? Like whatever the campaign is that's happening across the country, we want to be able to have Action Builder be able to hold that and not contort the data to some structure that doesn't fit. So it's really great that we're able to have a flexible enough system that is able to do that. But I think what is really exciting for our members is that we have an ethos of like people's action. We want to organize people, power, and money, and in Action Squared, we have a partner that's also aligned in that ethos, right? And when we're aligned in that ethos, we could just do more and go further together. And so that is like really exciting, that we are being asked not only to be at the table, but to provide meaningful input, and that meaningful input is taken seriously and built from that, right? Which is really, really exciting.
For sure. Yeah, thanks. Anything you would add to that, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would echo all that, but and also, I mean, I think for our affiliates, I think it's the ability to help shape a tool in a direction that will actually help their organizing. Like there's so many tools out there where you're having to, figure out, okay, there's this like general tool. How can I make, how can I actually use this? Like, definitely, I mean, I think, organizing is, and whether that's labor organizing or community organizing, and there's definitely like specific needs that are not, that don't fit like a general purpose tool, or, or you can make a general purpose tool work, but not to the, not with the level like of efficiency and design, for actual organizing. So, I think it's there's a lot of benefit for our affiliates in being part of that. I think, another thing that I've seen is just people really like getting a chance to talk to other organizers and other staff. Like one of the things we do with our working group calls is, in addition to talking about, development updates and prioritization for action builders, it's a chance for them to, share what challenges they're having. And, especially with something like Action Builder, which is so flexible that, anything you're trying to do, like there might be, 5 different ways you could potentially solve it. But so it gives people a chance to share and say, hey, here, we ran into this problem too. Here's how we solved it. And, it's really great to have that kind of, support structure and folks that you can reach out to and ask questions.
Yeah, I love that part of it too. And I love seeing that, just within the calls that we have with affiliates. And I'm looking forward to doing more of that, as more of like people's action groups come on board. I think that's another big strength of, where we're positioned in this broader ecosystem of like movement technology is, and why I like doing work from this perspective is like being able to look across lots of different movements. Like we were saying earlier, right? Like people are really busy, getting their work done, and having just a little bit of a moment to like pop your head up and, say like, oh yeah, like how are you all doing this, or how are you all, so like a lot of the problems, a lot of them are very unique to these different contexts, but also a lot of them are, can be kind of shared across different issues, different contexts, different environments. So yeah, just taking that space, because I think a lot of the powers that we're up against are a lot more well-resourced than we are. And so, our biggest resource, I think, is each other in that. So yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, and let's see, we have a few more minutes and I want to make sure we have some time for some Q&A. Thank you to those who have already left us some questions. Please keep those coming. I was wondering if either of you could share, your thoughts on how we're doing in terms of creating those collaborative spaces, especially in like a remote environment, right? It's tricky. It's tricky to work with folks all over the place. Yeah, and how we're doing, what's working well for you all so far, both in terms of a collaboration and making sure that we're being inclusive of like different perspectives that you're seeing, and open to constructive feedback too. If there's things that we could all be doing better to collaborate. Who wants to go in?
I can kind of take a crack at this. I think for me, it's different from what Jeff has experienced, definitely, because we're still in the process of building out internally what it looks like at People's Action. But I know everyone I've talked to is very excited about the table and the opportunity to provide input. I think for a lot of our folks, they're like honestly shocked that a tool and the software wants their input, and they're like, really? I didn't know I could even provide that as an option. So it's really great that not only are they being surprised, but like joyfully surprised, and they're excited about that opportunity. But as far as collaborative spaces go, I think one of the greatest things that we do is like we want to make sure that everyone who's in that table has the access to all the different projects that are happening, and like they're able to provide a it's structured in a way where they can just kind of throw anything forward and it's not just dismissed right away, right? Like it's given the room to breathe, to discuss, and provide like, actually, is this the kind of thing that you're talking about, or are you thinking about it kind of differently, right? So it's like everything is met with like curiosity and interest, so that it can then be taken back to the more technical and the developers and the product, and we can kind of think, okay, what does it look like to prioritize this feature? Is it still within the grand scheme of the project, right? So we can kind of hold both the long vision as well as the short of like, okay, this end user is having some trouble with like finding this specific piece of information, right? And how do we make that information more accessible while not also throwing us off on the long track of where the product needs to go, which is like really exciting that you're able to balance both ends of such a difficult process. It's difficult when you do it internally, and it only becomes doubly or triply more difficult when you democratize it. So it's really exciting that we're able to do it this way.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's like, we see a lot in, or as a benefit with this process is creating that shared ownership of the tool and of the process. With our, when we have folks join the working group, like they actually, I think it goes a long way to, not that you're not just like kind of submitting suggestions into a, suggestion box that, maybe someday someone reads those, but like actually like participating in the process of deciding what goes next. And like, and especially with Action Builder, where, it was really a brand new tool, with Action Network, when we started, like, we knew generally what a digital, activism mobilization tool needed to do. It needs to send emails and sign petitions and contact your congressman and all that kind of stuff. Like, the tool, like we had a good framework for, and it was kind of deciding like how we want to do those things, and which features to prioritize first, which is interesting and important conversations. But with Action Builder, it was like, like I said kind of earlier, starting from scratch, and it's like, what do we need to do? And so it's definitely it's like a bit of a messier process, and our backlog of features, our wish list of features is very, very long. And in terms of like Susie asked about like challenges, like managing that backlog is definitely a challenge. And there's stuff on there that you forget is even there, and so you add it again, and we have end up with duplicates, and we did some work a month or two ago, kind of start cleaning that up, but still a ways to go and figuring out how to best track all of that. But yeah, but like I was saying, in terms of like, the shared ownership, I think is a really valuable thing for these organizations, because it's just a much different feeling when you're why can't you're wondering like, well, why can't Action Builder do this one thing? And but then when you're it's I guess it's one thing to like request that feature, but then to actually be part of the prioritization, like, well, oh, actually this other feature that that I hadn't thought of but someone else did, that's actually even more important. And and we can think about what what we need to eventually we'll get to well, maybe not everything, but we'll get to all the important stuff, but it's a question of kind of what goes first, and where do we want this tool to go now versus where do we want it to go in a year or 5 years. And it's really exciting to be part of that process.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and one of the things I always say is, depending on people's like level of comfort with technology, I always notice this pattern that like if people are more comfortable with technology, they'll blame the technology and like be like, oh, this is obviously a bug, or it's not supposed to work this way. And if people are less comfortable with technology, they tend to blame themselves, and they're like, oh, I just maybe I just like not understanding, or I need to like read the documentation again or something. And I think the cooperative development model allows us to kind of bring people in from both of those extreme sides, is like help people understand that they can influence the direction of the tools that we're building, and it's not on them. Again, with the contorting, right? Like I just think about like teaching my grandma how to use Facebook or something, and she's like, I just don't understand. And I'm like, no, Facebook is, I don't know, this is being recorded, so I'll save my words. But, it's not intuitive in certain ways, and it shouldn't be on people to totally change themselves to work with technology. Like we need to be making things that work for people, not the other way around. So, um, great. Well, let's see. We've got a few questions in the Q&A. So let's see. Let me just scan these real quick. All right, so we have an anonymous question here. Are there people or orgs who are using Action Builder to store past information about who they've canvassed with Van, for example? What does that look like? Yeah, Jeff, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, not
tied
not
into the uploader in a way.
yeah, I mean, not that I know of, in terms of Van. I mean, so, and yeah, like, I think, that like Action Builder, I think it fits a different, I think it fits a different niche than Van. I think, Van, and we at the AFL-CIO, we use Van, or well, we use the LAN, which is our Van, extensively for political contact and kind of mass mobilization. But and in like in the we looked at like could Van work well for organizing, and it can certainly be used for organizing. And in the past, we've helped folks do that. I know there's folks that use it for the now, but it's really optimized more for kind of large scale mass contact, whereas Action Builder is really fitting the role of we're doing all these one-on-one conversations, and conversations among coworkers at a work site, and we need a way to track this stuff, which is it's similar, but it's not the same thing. So I don't know if folks have used I think definitely in theory I could do it, upload folks that have you've contacted in Van, and you could potentially use a date field and have that, or maybe once we have the contact button, maybe there could be a way to do that, but I don't know of anyone doing it that specifically at the moment.
Yeah, maybe I can also add on a little bit. At least in our instances, we actually don't recommend moving data across Van and Action Builder, because it's just two very different use cases, like you said, Jeff, right? Like if our membership base is working with an organizer, they're working on community issues, not on electoral work, right? So if they're working on a climate issue, it's kind of irrelevant to them if that person has voted in the past or has talked to an organizer on the doors in the past, even if it is through People's Action organizations. And if we're ever like, oh, we want to do an electoral push and we want to include our members in that, what we would probably do is export from Action Builder and put a tag of like organizer or like community leader in Van, and have that as a flag that comes up for when someone is doing a walk list or wants to build a list, because then we wouldn't have to import all this voter file related data into Action Builder, which is supposed to be rooted in community organizing and not in electoral work, right? We actually don't want to populate Action Builder with electoral related metadata.
Yep.
I will say I think there is like some interesting ideas around using Action Builder for kind of more political organizing, like at the work site, and having like those kinds of conversations. And we're still kind of figuring out what that might look like. But for example, one feature, I forget exactly when it was added, I think it was this year, but we did add the ability to like show your congressional districts in the with the addresses in Action Builder. So which does make it easier to if you want to talk to people about an electoral race, or about something to be able to see what district they're in. But for the most part, like Vishwa said, like it's we see them as like kind of different tools and different use cases.
Yeah, and tied to that, actually, we did have another question about using voter files. We do have an integration with Catalyst, So, we do, have the ability to pull in some and do some matching on that. So for the times that it does make sense to have some of that. All right. Reading some other stuff coming into the Q&A. All right, thank you, Dora. Less of a question, more of a comment about how awesome Action Builder is. Well, thank you for sharing that. I'll push that there so everyone can see that in the Q&A as well. Great. Well, any final thoughts before we wrap up our time together?
I'll just echo what Susie said earlier. Really excited to have People's Action joining the development committee. I think it's gonna, it's this, like, I think it's a perspective, that I think we have, haven't had as much of yet. But I think there's like huge opportunities for using Action Builder for more community-based organizing, other types of organizing outside of labor. So really excited to have you all at the table.
Oh, and the love is felt likewise, Jeff. Like, to be welcomed and appreciated with the work that y'all have done so far it's exciting, and it's great to be in a room full of such thoughtful, intentional, and awesome people.
Oh, love ending on that note. Well, yeah, thank you all so much for taking the time to have this conversation, and thank you everyone for joining. And Jeff, if you want to put my email in the chat, open invitation if anyone has any further questions on the cooperative development process or how we, run product for Action Builder in general. Would love to hear from you, and yeah, continue to make our progressive movement stronger. So have a good rest of your days, and I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.